We're going to put together the final PDF for our narrative essay. First, I'm going to go ahead and make sure things are set up correctly before I start anything on this blank page. Over here, oops, that is not correct. So I'm going to go ahead and set this for Times New Roman 12 font. For this essay, I can choose 1.5 space or 2 space. I'm going to go with 1.5 space. Now I have things set up and I'm ready to add my name, course, date, and make sure I put in that all-important word count. Y'all, this is going to be a big number because all of the drafts you've written, all of the rough notes you've written, you get to count works cited once. You don't get to count any other drafts of that, but you do get those word count for one time. So I'm going to make sure I'm prepared for that. Okay, so I'm going to fill this in. I always highlight this, y'all, because I am famous for forgetting that word count. I'll look at everything else and then forget that. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my title, and I can use any font I like for the title, but I'm going to want to make sure that I go back to Times New Roman 12 font after that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my title, and I'm going to add below that the title image, which is the image that I selected from the list that I've already locked down and I've already written a proposal for. Okay, so I've chosen a font. I'm calling this the Secret Keeper. This is the image that I chose from the list, and I'm going to write the summary, but instead of writing a summary statement, I'm going to write it on a typical day. And you're right, I should probably put ellipses. Let's put 3. And then I start my summary statement, and you've seen the link and you have the directions for how to write a summary statement. After that, I'm going to come down and I'll begin my chapters, and I can title my chapters any way I like. I can use this font, or I can go ahead and use Times New Roman, whatever you like. So I have chapter 1, airport arrival. You're right. This should be in the same font. It looks goofy. You're right. So I'm going to go back over here, go up here and set that there. I think this font's too big. There we go. Make that bold. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is just for this, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to make this single spaced so we don't have quite that much of a big gap. Now I got to go back to the margins, and I've got to remember, back to the margins, I have to remember to come over here, set this at Times New Roman, set this at 12. Some of you may want to do this in a different way where you do the chapters after you're finished. I don't care, but just something. Remember to indent the first word. All right, so remembering, indent the first word of every paragraph. Now we're off and we're running into the story, and I'm going to complete writing the story all the way through the pages, and then I'm going to go over and I'm going to check on the research. First, I have to research this country, where am I, research where I want these students to be from, and so forth. I've got to also find images so that I can include images throughout the story. Let's say I've done all that and I'm ready to add my works cited. Let's say that these are all the citations for my essay. I'm going to click Export All, and then I'm going to choose whether I want that to be from Word or Docs. I'm going to do it on Word. Now you see where that's created. I'm going to open that, and there are my works cited. I'm going to enable editing, and I'm going to make sure all of these are correct. None of these are goofy. And I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go over to my document. I'm going to go ahead and click margin, and I'm going to paste this. And I'm going to make sure that nothing's goofy on here, because sometimes it can go goofy. So let's make sure it's Times New Roman, 12 font. Do you see this? You have to make sure that in that moment of transfer from whether it's Google Docs or Word, that it came correctly into the document, and you have to check that and make sure. Now that's completed, and all my works cited are in there, and you're going to have plenty more than this. And of course, all the images that I had in addition to the title image have been added. And now the last thing I'm going to do is put in my rough notes. Let's say these are my rough notes. You can also include, if you like to scribble on paper, you can take a screenshot of that. You can embed that in the document, however you took notes. It's important that I see your process. So I'm just going to copy these. Oops. And I'm noticing that these are not in Times New Roman fonts, so I'm going to have to make sure when I do this, when I go over to my big document. Okay, now I'm going to come down here, paste those notes. Oops. Let's make sure that we highlight those. We come over here, Times New Roman, 12 font. There. Now I'm going to check everything, and I'm going to check it and then double check it and then check it some more. And then I'm going to walk away from it and I'm going to come back and check it again, especially this works cited. I just don't trust it. Let me make sure it's on 12 font, that everything's indented. The title, the author is over here at the margin. The second lines are indented. You'll notice that it's all formatted correctly. It's all double spaced. Okay. Now, whenever I'm through looking at everything, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go to my review word count. This is not going to be my final word count for the whole document. Oh, close. Word count. Okay, so the words are 354. I haven't added in all of the drafts. Now the rough notes are there, but I'm going to make sure that I include all final words. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to take out that highlighting, and I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to add my final word count. Okay, and maybe over here I'll just put final. There we go. Make sure my name's there, course date. Make sure everything's in Times New Roman other than chapter titles. Make sure all my images are the same. Notice that this image I framed with this little frame here. I have to make sure all images are framed exactly the same way. See how nice and crisp and sharp that is? If I'd taken this image and I'd made it like this, how do I expect the reader to see that? If I made it too big and I made it the entire page, now it's obstructing my view. Just you use your good judgment, make it nice and sharp and crisp, and everything's included. Now, as soon as I'm through with that, I'm going to save this as a PDF. I'm going to save it as a Word document, but I'm going to save it as a PDF. Canvas will only take a PDF. If you attempt to submit multiple documents, the document that opens is what I will grade. Everything needs to be on one long document. I've forgotten my outline, so let me go get my outline. My outlines are always complicated. I realize that. That's how I just like to do things. But I'm just going to take all this and I'm going to copy all of it. And I'm going to copy. I'm going to go over to my master document. And that was supposed to go before the notes, correct? Okay. So this is where the outline was supposed to go. Let's go back over here to the margin. And I'm going to paste that in. And there's my outline. Now your outline is going to look different, but it should be pretty detailed. I know I go crazy with outlines. I just like being organized. I don't like having to go back and edit stuff that's just glommy. It just takes so much time to try to find something. I'd rather outline it to start with. So now that's going to change this number. So if anytime I change something, then I've got to look. Okay, now we're up to 6,700 words. That's going to be more with all the drafts and all the other stuff. So I'm going to put there we go. Right? That's just this. That's not if I'd written an entire story and added the pictures and everything else. All right? You do not need to complete works cited for images because we are using this for classroom purposes. If and when you submit this beautiful paper that you're writing to a contest or something, you would take the images out and you would take out the works cited and you would take out the other things and you would simply submit the document. What's that got a problem with? All right. I just like to pay attention. Sometimes I discount them, but there you go. That's how to put it together. And make sure, once again, this is all saved and submitted as a PDF. One long, beautiful PDF.